Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and this is Captain Marvel Tier 3 World Boss Ultimate testing. We've got the basically best possible team in the world for CM, and we're trying to see just what she can do. Now, spoilers, it's a mixture of, well, that damage is really good actually. It's a mixture of hope and disappointment, and you'll see a little bit of both, and you'll see why. We're going to proc the Tier 3 skill with her damage proc. I told you guys yesterday in the ABX video, don't proc her obelisk with her Tier 3 skill. I think I lied. I think I was wrong. I think it's actually a good idea to do that. But in addition to doing that, you're going to need to do a lot of this. Run away. Just run away. You're also going to need to collect a lot of the blobs. You're also going to need to just watch out, because if you take too much damage, she's just going to die. Now, she's pretty tanky. I won't lie. She is pretty tanky, but there's so many gaps. I think that's kind of the biggest loser with Captain Marvel, is that there are so many gaps in her abilities, and it makes for some frustrating gameplay at times, and especially when you have a world boss like Cull Obsidian or Corvus who bleeds, especially when you have world boss stages. Oh, I might die. Especially when you have world boss stages where there is the tornadoes. You're in for some potentially very frustrating gameplay. And so I do want to make that clear. If you're having trouble with Captain Marvel, you're not alone. And it is definitely something that I do think Netmarble does need to fix. I think they do need to patch Captain Marvel. They need to get rid of... Oh my god. She gets blood so much. They need to get rid of the gaps between her iframes, and they need to give her like even 3 seconds of immunity on her first skill would be enough, because I just got bumped. I got hit before my 4th skill iframe because there's a small gap at the very beginning, and you know what, the damage is pretty good. I mean, keep in mind I've got basically the two best strikers in the game, or I got the best support and the best leadership for her with both White Fox and Nick Fury. We're talking 115% increased damage against supervillains, which then Captain Marvel buffs further beyond 115%. So I don't know what we're rocking, like 130%, because she knocks up the buff percentage by 20%. Where is it? 72, 12, and 66. Yeah, that's like 150. That's insane. That's like so much. So yeah, she's definitely got insane buffs. This is definitely as high as it goes for her. I think even the 50%, by the way, I think even the 50% leadership also gets buffed. I'm not exactly sure if it counts as a buff. If it does get buffed. But she's got insane buffs, and this is still something that's difficult for her. But you know what, Cull Obsidian is difficult. It's a little bit easier than Tier 3 Magneto, but that's not really saying much, because not many people are going to Tier 3 Magneto for you know, World Boss Ultimate. Showing off something a little bit different, we're going to do a stage 45 of Ebony really quickly. I just want to jump in and show you guys, again, same team, again, pretty much the same strikers. You absolutely have to use Anti-Venom for the heals, or she will die. There's basically no way to play her where she doesn't die. And yes, I know, Cynicalex, if you use Captain Marvel's 5th skill and then you use her Tier 3 skill, it gives her 5 seconds of immunity. I'm very aware of that. Do you also realize that 100 other people posted that on YouTube and 50 other people posted it on Discord? People tweeted it at me. Also, it doesn't matter. She still takes a shitload of damage. Do you know that there's a gap? There's a gap before the beginning of her Tier 3 skill where she can actually take damage. It's pretty difficult to recreate it for you guys in a video, but if you just play long enough with the character, or if you watch someone else play with the character, you will see that gap come up, and it's quite embarrassing. As she's jumping up into the sky, it shows up. And yeah, it basically means you actually take damage at the beginning. It's really, honestly, whether they rushed the character or they just didn't do enough testing with this specific kind of gameplay, I don't really care, to be honest. I don't want to know the why of Captain Marvel being, you know, I don't want to say broken, but I want to call it incomplete. But I do want it to be fixed, just straight up. Just go in, fix the gaps in her iframes on 4 and 3, and fix the gap at the beginning and the end of the iframe on 4 and 3 so that you can chain them properly, and, you know, fix the gap in the iframe, or fix the gap in whatever, the interruption at the beginning of her 6th skill, because it's unfun to play the character. If you made her too strong for PvP, that's not really my fault. You gotta go and fix that. Maybe you should lower the damage on her 4th skill a little bit so that she's not one-shotting everybody with it, because it has iframe ignore. You know, I don't really know, but I think you know, to make a character like this who's so beloved and so hyped solely for one game mode, and when that game mode is not even that good. I mean, think about it. Why is the meteor... This is obviously a bug. What the hell was that? The meteor was like hovering over my head like I was carrying it. That was some Atlas shit. But, you know, to build a character for PvP when PvP is not even a game mode that is very good in Marvel Future Fight, it just makes no sense. Especially for someone as hyped as... That literally did 0 damage. Wow. For someone as hyped as Captain Marvel, you know, and the majority of the community does PvE content, and they can't even enjoy her because there's frustrating parts. I'm highlighting Ebony Maw because he's one of the easier bosses to fight. Yeah, he iframes a lot, but you know what, kids? It doesn't matter if the enemy iframes. Think about it. Because Captain Marvel has iframe ignore. So that's, I want to point this out. She can do this stage. She does enough damage because Ebony can't escape her 4th skill. And her 4th skill does the most damage of her 5 skills. And so she can constantly badger him and whittle him down. Now, of course, I'm using super OP strikers. Of course, I have great cards. And of course, I have amazing raid level. So yes, obviously, you're not going to be able to replicate my exact stats. I mean, you're not going to be able to replicate my results if you don't have my exact stats. But this is showing you that she can do it. She has enough base damage, and if you combine the right strikers like Scarlet Witch and Invisible Woman and Deadpool, who all have all defense down, you can really start to whittle away, and in big chunks, you can start to whittle away at the enemy. We're going to go ahead and dive into a stage 22 Thanos to show you another world boss. I just want to run through as many as I can because there are pros and cons to both. I think despite Ebony having possibly, you know, as difficult or slightly less difficult, but almost as difficult a penalty against energy damage vis-a-vis or versus elemental damage as someone like Cull Obsidian does with the high defense, Cull Obsidian's a lot harder because of the bleed. Now, Thanos doesn't have the bleed, but he does have other effects, but she actually just, for some reason, she melts through him. I don't know if she has some sort of hidden damage modifier specifically against Thanos, which would honestly be hilarious, but this damage you've got to realize is just absolutely bonkers. I mean, this damage does not scale against the other bosses the way that it does against Thanos. It's just way too high. This looks like a stage 10. It's really high, and I can actually just proc right here because she has the iframe ignore. So again, Thanos also can't hide from Captain Marvel, which is hilarious. So for bosses that only iframe like Ebony, or for bosses who iframe at annoying moments like Thanos and do, you know, unblockable abilities like that, the purple lines, you can just dodge that by going into your own iframe and just punishing him. But she's just wrecking a stage 22. Now, are you gonna tier 3 a character for a stage 22 clear of world boss? I don't know, probably not. But we're less than a minute in, and she's melting his ass. But she's also getting melted, as you can see, because I was standing in the puddle when he threw those blue orbs at me, and because the guard hit does not protect against anything. The guard hit gets penetrated by pretty much everything in the game. It's actually really frustrating. The guard hit, I don't know why they gave her a guard hit. It's so useless. You know, it gets penetrated by everything. It gets penetrated even by bleed, and I'm dead. Yep. So there's that. I mean, I could have played better. I could have switched. She can definitely do it. The damage is amazing, but the survivability is just garbage. And so I want to show you one more. I want to show you Corvus, because Corvus actually has a similar problem to Cull Obsidian. And despite an amazing team, and despite, you know, everything built to the right spec, you're going to see what happens, okay? She gets hit by bleed damage, and because all she has is iframes and a guard hit, it's just not enough. Guard hit is pretty much the most useless ability in the game. If a character has immunity or invincibility and then also has guard hit on another skill, it's a bit more useful. But having guard hit as the only defensive ability, you pretty much should never, ever, ever rely on it. I'm not even exaggerating, because it will fail and you will end up getting bled, getting damaged, getting killed, and you'll be like, what happened? My guard hit was up. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. One good thing that I may be able to show you guys in this clear that I was, yeah, there we go. She got penetrated. Fantastic. She got, not paralyzed. One thing that I may be able to show you guys in this fights in particular is her tier 3 skill targeting. The meteor, as it's coming down, seems to target pretty well. So that is one thing that's good. It seems hard to miss with her tier 3 skill, which is definitely something that we've criticized other tier 3 skills of having that problem, especially like Cap's tier 3 skill. And you can see here that Corvus, as annoying as he is when he iframes, there I got snared by the tornadoes because it just doesn't matter what you do, and now I'm gonna die because of the bleed. But yeah, you don't have to worry about the targeting with her tier 3 skill. It definitely does that for you well enough. And her damage is definitely there. It's definitely enough to clear this. I'm just always worried about her health. And because she doesn't have a heal and because she just takes so much damage with no other means of protecting herself. Honestly, I find that her iframe on her second skill is actually more useful than her guard hit on her fifth skill. Isn't that wild? Because it's an instant iframe on her second skill, and it just works. So I would say, if you're, one of my suggestions at least, tier 2 or tier 3 Captain Marvel, it actually doesn't matter. Use her second skill more frequently to get those iframes in. It will really help, and I might be dead here. Yep. One thing that I actually dislike, the only thing that's bad for PvE content in regards to her fourth skill, the fact that it ignores iframes, is that if the character iframes, or if they do some sort of ability, and you can't cancel it because you're in your iframe penetrating ability, you will be stuck there. I got snared and I'm dead. Yep. And that's kind of basically how it goes with Captain Marvel. The damage is spectacular. You're watching it and you're like, yeah, go Carol, melt that guy. And then you're like, what? Because you got melted. It's really, it's kind of like Gambit, except the difference between her and Gambit is that Gambit has a full, uninterrupted iframe on his fifth skill where all of his damage comes from, and then the rest of the time with Gambit you just play possum and you run your ass off and just rotate 5-5-5-5-5. You can't really do that with Captain Marvel. You can't just rotate through one skill. I mean, you could, but her damage is not as good as Gambit's in that case if you only did 5 and 4, and she doesn't have all defense down stacking up to 50% on any of her skills, so it also doesn't work out in the same way. I like a lot of the changes that they've made to the character. I like the character model. I like the fact that her skills change slightly when she uses Radiant Form. I like the fact that you can't just spam Radiant Form all the time, that there is a cooldown. There's a lot of things that I like about her tier 2 and tier 3. But her tier 3 skill needs to do more damage. I mean, you're literally, like, think about it logically. You're literally flying into space, and you're blasting a beam down to Earth. Okay, just think about how much energy and how much power it takes to pierce at the atmosphere and whatever, and to force that much energy down into the Earth's gravity. And then you're also, you know, destroying an asteroid mid space, and then you're throwing that asteroid down onto someone's face. That does less damage than Captain America going like this for 3 seconds and then just running at you. Does that make any sense at all? Right. No, it doesn't. This skill does less damage than Magneto just raising his hands up like he's praying and a bunch of metal just hitting you. A freaking asteroid from space coming down at, you know, whatever kilometers per hour, miles per hour, 1,000,000 miles per hour, and it's like a tickle. The tier 3 skill damage is bad. Her buffs from her tier 3 are bad. They just don't last long enough. The fact that her all defense down, there's a hidden all defense down on her binary break, it doesn't apply to world bosses. It's basically useless. And the fact that her skills don't have any survivability, and she has gaps in her iframes. Maybe they did this on purpose because there's a Marvel Endgame uniform coming for Captain Marvel in a couple months. I don't know, but honestly, I think it would be really nice for the community if they gave us a free CTP of Rage. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what they're gonna do about the CTP of Rage, but if they buffed her a little bit, just make a few tweaks here and there, clean up the iframe gaps on 3 and 4, and, you know, maybe bump up one of her skills in terms of having like 2 seconds or 3, even like 2 seconds of immunity on her second skill. It'll bump up to 3 seconds with Carol Core anyways. So honestly, that might be enough. I swear to God, 2 seconds of immunity. That's it. Think about it, Netmarble. Let me know what you guys think. Let Netmarble know what you think in the comments down below about Captain Marvel. What do you want to see next? Subscribe, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.